Hey folks, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another review. This is of a documentary that my good friend Mike OCP sent to me, and it is called Leviathan, the story of Hellraiser and Hellbound Hellraiser II. It's from the UK. It was made, but it's region free as far as I know, because I was able to play on my Region 1 Blu-ray player. I have a Region 2 DVD player in case it didn't, but my Blu-ray player, again, it's Region 1, and this played perfectly fine. This is a slipcover, and you can actually take it off, and this is the actual cover. And overall, this is I like this documentary. I think this is a pretty good documentary, very in-depth. It's a 3-disc, limited 3-disc collector's edition. Disc 1 on Hellraiser 1, Disc 2 on Hellbound Hellraiser 2, and Disc 3 a bunch of extra features. Now, I don't think it's as good as Never Sleep Again or Crystal Lake Memories, but I still think if you're especially a hardcore Hellraiser fan, you definitely need to get this. If you're a casual fan, like I am, it was fun to watch. Let me put it this way, I would rather have a documentary be too long than too short. The most offensive documentary in my eyes, I always mention this, is Turtle Power, the Ninja Turtle documentary. Which I want to mention real quick because I know someone was complaining about, well, why do you keep that DVD? Well, considering a very nice girl named Hope, who is like one of the only female subscribers I've ever had, who used to make videos and was very nice to me, and now she's no longer on YouTube or Facebook, so I don't know how she's doing. She sent that to me as a gift. So yeah, I like to keep that because, hey, I don't get many female subscribers. Yeah, and she was very nice to me. That's why. Plus, there's actually a handful of things I don't mind, but overall, it's an incredible disappointment. But I had to mention that because I know some people were bitching about it. And if they don't want to believe me, then fuck it. But to get back on track, that documentary is how you not do it correctly. That's the worst offense to me. This, one thing I will admit is kind of a problem. It feels like it drags, because disc 1 on Hellraiser 1 is 4 hours and 37 minutes. And it's not a lot of behind the scenes. It's a lot of talking heads, meaning someone's interviewed, and then someone's interviewed over here, then someone talks over here. Once in a while, some pictures are thrown in. So when you're watching it about one movie for 4 hours and 37 minutes, you kind of get antsy and it drags, and that's why this has gotten some harsh reviews because of that, and I don't think it deserves that much harsh reviews because, again, I would rather have a documentary be too long than too short, because that's what the fast forward button is for. And I appreciate what they were trying to do because they want to tell the most out of this story for the first Hellraiser, and like I said, and the second one is 3 hours and 19 minutes, and they get a lot of people. The two that sucks that they don't get is Clive Barker is not interviewed, but for what I understand, there was a statement that he was very sick, he was unwell, and I could see that on the Nightbreed DVD that was sent to me a long time ago by a user called LoveToEatPuss79. Watching the features, you could tell that Clive Barker is in bad shape because anytime he talked, he would wheeze like, and then he would talk, and you could hear it on the commentary and the intro to the DVD. So I'm like, if he's in that bad shape, I can understand. The other noticeable absence is Ashley Laurence, which I have no idea why. Granted, at least I can, if I want to hear her thoughts, I have Hellraiser and Hellraiser 2. The Hellraiser DVD I have, I think she's on the commentary, but there's at least an interview with her. And on the Hellraiser 2, she's on the commentary track, so at least there's that. But her absence is a kind of shines because, I mean, she's the star of those two films. She's a big part of it, and she's not in it. It sucks. So I'm guessing they asked, and she said no, because they did a lot of people. They did, on Hellraiser 1, they did Andrew Robinson. They did Claire Higgins, who played Julia in both films. They get the guy who played Frank the Monster when he was skinless. Of course, they have Doug Bradley. They have Christopher Young, who did the music. They have pretty much all the people who played the Cenobites. The guy who played Butterball. The guy who played, the bigger one. The guy who played Chatterer. The woman who played the female Cenobite in the second movie. The guy who plays Dr. Chandler. This guy in the second movie. And this Cenobite here. They got him. They got the girl who played Tiffany in the second movie. I thought that was really cool. William Hope, who's in the second movie they did. A lot of the people who were working on the effects and costumes and makeup, image animation, Bob Keane. They did a lot of people involved. Tony Randall, who directed the second film. Peter Atkins, who's, anytime he's on, Peter Atkins, the writer of the second film, he's a lot of fun. He's one of my favorite interviews on it. So they did a lot of people. And again, it's very in-depth. I know I'm repeating myself, but this is 4.5 hours. And then this, too, is 3 hours and 19 minutes on the second film. And then the third disc is bonus features, which, just to go through real quick for people who are interested. You get about 15 minutes on one of the things you find out in the first film. Christopher Young was not going to do the score at first. He wasn't hired. Clive Barker wanted this band called Coil, who dealt with industrial music. And the producer, Tony Randall, who went on to direct the second film, he thought, no, he's the one who brought in Christopher Young, Tony Randall. And they have 15 minutes with the band, and you hear some of their music. It's actually on YouTube as well, unreleased theme by Coil. And listening to it, it sounded like a video game, something that would be like in a Doom or Resident Evil video game. But even the guy behind the band says that it was a demo, and they would have brought some strings and acoustics and other stuff into it, but it was just a demo. But Christopher Young did a fantastic job on the score, so I'm fine with that. As for the other sequels, all you did is you did about 30 minutes on the making of Hellraiser 3, which unfortunately doesn't have Anthony Hickox. And not a lot of people talk about Anthony Hickox, except maybe Peter Atkins. But you did some stuff on that. You did 17 minutes with Gary J. Tunnicliffe, who worked on the effects of the later Hellraiser sequels. You had about 30 minutes on this guy who wrote this book, which I want to get one day, Hellraiser Films and Their Legacy, Paul Kane. The guy of the documentary talks with him for about 30 minutes about, they go through each of the Hellraiser films, like they spend a couple minutes on each one. Then you have about 27 minutes of people talking about Clive Barker, a fun 16-minute interview conversation with both Butterball and Chatterer, the two guys who played them, in the same room. That was a fun conversation. They were talking about conventions and things of that nature. About 13 minutes interviewing the guy who helped create the box, the Lament configuration. Another little featurette about Dr. Channard in the second film. And some of these features are you'd hear in the main documentary, so some of it's regurgitated info, but you get some new stuff as well in each of these features in the bonus disc. Like one funny thing with Peter Atkins, who wrote the second film, talking about Dada Chenard, when the scene where he gives a guy a razor and he says, you know, that puts you in the motherfucker category. I thought the writer of the second film was pretty funny. When talking about the third film, Tony Randall was going to direct it, but he didn't get along with the producers. Peter Atkins says he likes the film. He wrote the second, but he also helped write the third. He said, I'm in the fucking thing. You know, I got to be a Cenobite. He's the guy with the barbed wire and the cocktail breathing fire. Christopher Young was offered part 3, but he was offered less money than the first movie. So that's why he didn't do it. Because he was offered less money than the first one. There's a New World had gone down, so there was some untangling of the rights. Clive Barker was paid not to be part of it, then was paid to be put his name back on it. That originally some of the people thought throughout the first 2 films that Julia, she would be the face, the returning villain, but the audience chose, you know, Pinhead. They talked with I forget the actor's name, who had the camera and later played the camera Cenobite. But at least I have the DVD. A long time ago, I got, actually I was watching it again. I got this DVD from overseas. Someone sent this to me, which is nice to have because it has a new interview with, well, at the time, it was a new interview with Anthony Hitchcock, a new interview with Doug Bradley, and a commentary with both of them on it. Plus, it's the uncut version. So at least I have this to listen to Anthony Hitchcock and Doug Bradley talk about the film. At least at the time this DVD came out, which I forget. It says it's Region 0. Well, it also says we'll play anywhere in the world except USA, Canada, Japan, South Korea. So that's not really Region 0. So I don't know what the fuck they said that, but anyway. So, I mean, it would have been nice to just have a feature on each sequel if you don't go that route. But again, I'm not really that disappointed because it's called The Story of Hellbound, Hellraiser 2, and Hellraiser 1. It's called that, so that's why I'm not really going to pick that apart because that's the title of it. They did not lie with the title, unlike Turtle Definitive History of the Ninja Turtles, which 90, at least 75% of the history is missing. But again, the good is in-depth. The bad, at times, maybe people think it's a bit too in-depth because, again, it can get a bit draggy at times. Again, when you're watching a 4.5-hour documentary on one film, it's a bit much. Also, the price. I mean, great, I got this for free because Mike ordered it. I think when he ordered it, when he accidentally ordered 2, it was $35 each. But when I looked on the website, Leviathan, the UK, it said that international, if you bought it and you had to ship it, because again, it's in the UK, that was £25. And then it says up above £5 shipping for international, which means it would be £30. And from what I understand, £30, like 25 for this and 5 for shipping, £30 is like $45 in American. Now maybe I'm wrong, and someone can tell me, but Mike might have gotten a deal because he had pre-ordered it at the time. But again, it looks like, if I'm reading correctly, international shipping, which is again to the US, £25, and then £5. I mean, for the DVDs, £25, and then £5. I don't know, maybe that includes shipping when it says 25. They worded it weird. So if it's £25, then maybe, I think that's still like $38 or something like that. It's between $38 and $45. I don't know exactly what the price is. I'm sure someone can tell me, at least right now. And it's pretty spendy for. This is not on Blu-ray. It's only a DVD. Granted, you get a lot for your buck. I will say, if you total it up, it's about 4.5 and 3 hours and 20, and then 3.5, about 11 hours. About 11 hours worth of stuff. So I guess, again, it's up to people out there whether they want to pay the money or not. Again, if you're a hardcore Hellraiser fan, I would say it's worth a look. But yeah, I mean, disc 1, I mean, they go into British horror at the time, a little bit of the video nasties, a lot of thoughts on Clive Barker, how much of a genius he is. The dog company, the theater company he was involved with. But how Clive Barker, he had a hand somehow in Rawhead Rex and Transmutations, also known as Underworld. Not the Kate Beckinsale, but the older film. I think here it's called Transmutations. How he was disappointed in that, and him writing this book, The Hellbound Heart, and how it got to New World. He did very in-depth on the actors. Andrew Robinson, he's interviewed Claire Higgins, Ashley Laurence, which one or two people kind of knock her performance a little bit, Ashley Laurence. One or two crew members. They're not extremely rude, but they knocked it a little bit, which I disagree with. But that is funny, the boyfriend of Ashley Lawrence's character, which I was like, I'm curious what he's doing, because he's there at the finale of the first film. He just gets one line, and it's someone not even on. They're just showing the footage of him, and just one guy saying he wasn't very good and his dubbing didn't help, and that's all you get of the boyfriend. Just a guy I don't even know who knocking him, so maybe that's why he doesn't talk about the film. But it goes in the troubles and trials of getting the makeup on who played the Cenobites. Some other looks to Pinhead, like one more tribal, one with more piercings. You get some fun stuff like putting that goop on them, which some of them were called elephant cum. Stories about how they had to buy tons of condoms because of the latex, and one guy was buying it, and the guy at the store asked him, "Are you going to a party?" And the guy's like, "Well, what am I going to say?" "Sure, yeah, I'm going to a party." And you get some fun stuff in there. Again, it's 4.5 hours, so it's kind of tough to sit in one go, because Never Sleep Again, it's 4 hours on all the movies. Crystal Lake Memories, it's I mean, just these two movies, 4 hours and 3 hours and 20 minutes, they talk about all the movies in Friday the 13th, so it's just, it gets a bit draggy at points, gets a bit slow at points in the documentary. But again, if you're a hardcore fan, it's definitely worth a look. And you do get some fun stories. The president of the production didn't like the dailies. They thought the film was dull, and all they saw was, what is this, a movie about people walking up and down stairs? But they're like, no, there's more to it than that. Some stuff was added or reshot, like the first time the Cenobites come up, when you had that bright light, white light and smoke that wasn't in there the first time, so that was reshot. And Tony Randall had a hand in some of that stuff. The bots, the limited configuration, how it actually got referenced in Scooby-Doo, which I didn't know. I guess it was one of the newest Scooby-Doo episodes. When they got more money, Tony Randall actually came up with the idea, of the big transformation scene of Frank with the heart or the lungs underneath the floorboards. I always thought that was Clive Barker's idea, but apparently in this documentary, it was Tony Randall's idea. And he was a big part of that transformation of Frank, which to me is the thing that made me think of Clive Barker the most. But again, that seemed like it was Tony Randall's idea of which really surprised me. Originally, there was some lip-syncing puppet that didn't work, and it just appeared like a Tomb of the Mummy, out of the wall. And they taught a lot of the stuff. The scenes where Claire Higgins is killing people for Frank. Doug Bradley tells a fun story about how in rehearsal, while Doug Bradley was one of the guys, when she swung the hammer, she was like this close to him. And he tells a funny story about how if these were a little bit different, it was said, Doug Bradley, who would have played Pinhead, dies. He tells it better than me. But they talk about the engineer character, how that was made, the death of Andrew Robbins' character, the bony dragging at the end, which was a last-minute effect. They talk about editing. how the studio decisions, some of the characters in the first film were dubbed. Again, the music was originally going to be done by a band called Coil, and then Tony Randall brought in Christopher Young, wanted him to do it. The release of the film, there was talks of a sequel while in the editing process because they were liking what they were seeing. Again, pretty in-depth look into it. And even the second film, which is actually my favorite Hellraiser film. I enjoy the first movie, but my favorite is the second film. And they talked about how some guy, I believe Michael McDowell, I think he's a writer of Beetlejuice, I could be wrong. He was going to direct the film, the sequel, but I think he had a partner who had AIDS, and the guy was worried that maybe he had it, and he couldn't do it. The film was supposed to have a bigger budget, but the stock market kind of crashed, and so the budget went down. Some fun bits of dialogue, like, I think it's the guy who played Butterball, who came back. He was talking about Ashley Lawrence's character, that if in the first film she grew a pair of balls, in the second film she really filled them with semen for the second film, and started laughing uncontrollably. I guess to show that, you know, she got tougher. It's kind of a weird thing, kind of a weird joke to make. Kind of, you know, it just kind of makes me wonder, I wonder maybe that's why Ashley Lawrence didn't become part of this. I don't know, maybe she saw clips like that, or the little digs at her performance. Maybe that's why, I don't know. I don't know. Or Ashley Lawrence talking to the girl who played Tiffany, I forget, Imogen, I forget her last name. Her telling the girl, if you want an American accent, go up there, kick that thing, and say, fuck it! And the girl who played Tiffany had a laugh about that. Or the thing that connected to Dr. Chenard, how everyone described it as a giant penis. Or one time where Doug Bradley kind of went crazy, and he says it's because he was given vitamins that were like speed, and he threatened to throw this type of thing out the window off the second floor. And again, more talked about how Julie was supposed to take over as the villain. And they do bring up the fact that this seemed like the Cenobites were taken out a bit too quickly. They do discuss that a bit. Anyway, I mean, I'm not going to go every single bit of it, but those some of the info you get out of it. And like I said, the bonus disc, you did quite a bit of stuff on. There's also an hour-long look at image animation, those guys there. And you did a little bit of behind the scenes from the second film throughout. So if there's any behind the scenes footage, you did a little bit of the second film throughout the documentary portion of the second film, and even some of the features on the bonus disc. So you get some little bits. But you don't really get any of the first film. Maybe there just weren't any. Oh, in the second film, they also talk about the lead scene that wasn't really the lead scene, because there was a picture out there of Pinhead and this other female Cenobite in surgeon uniforms, doctor uniforms, and they explained the whole deal with that it wasn't really shot, and it was planned, but then they realized some of the effects wouldn't work at the last minute, but someone on set took a picture, and that got out there, and publicity, and again, it's very in-depth. Christopher Young talks about the score again, and he actually likes the score to the second film more than the first, and very pat. I don't know why I keep showing the disc, you already saw it. You also have this little pamphlet. It gives a little info. And I actually wrote something on Facebook about it, and maybe that'd be the best way to end it. Just sort of reiterate what I wrote on my Facebook post about this, if I can find it. But, I mean, overall, I liked it. I just felt Crystal Lake Memories and Never Sleep Again went at a better pace. It went at a bit smoother pace. But again, I mean, it's understandable when it's 4.5 hours on one film. Oh, of course, and my Facebook doesn't want to work. So, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you very much, dickhead. But yeah, I would have, but... it was pretty much the same that I said. Like, the good was... it's pretty in-depth. The bad, again, seems a bit dratty at points. The good, they got a lot of people in there. The bad, no Ashley Laurence and no Clive Barker, which is too bad. The good, you get a lot of... I think I got it now. If it lets me. Oh my god, you fucking piece of shit. Well, there's a little bonus. Me getting pissed off at Facebook for being a piece of shit! Eric says, it should be noted that while it's region-free, it's PAL only. It won't work on any DVD or Blu-ray player that is NTSC only. Well, I don't know. It worked on mine, so I don't know what to say about that. And yeah, it would have been nice to see, you know, in-depth looks at the sequels, just for curiosity's sake, because I know Hellraiser 4 Bloodline has a lot of interesting stories, like Kevin Yeager was directing it, and then he took his name off it, and then I believe Joe Chappelle was brought in, and like interesting behind-the-scenes info, and then the other sequels, how they were not supposed to be Hellraiser films, and they were turned into Hellraiser films, at least script-wise. So it would have been nice to see, like, maybe 20-30 minutes on each movie. But, you know, I mean, it didn't advertise that, so that's why I can't be too mad. Okay, this is what I wrote. The good, pretty in-depth. The bad, almost too in-depth. Just a bit dratty. The good, tons of folks interviewed. The bad, no Clive Barker, he was ill, and no Ashley Laurence. The good, I'd rather have a documentary be too long than be too short, like the Pissant Turtle Power documentary. The bad, 4.5 hours for one movie and 3 hours and 19 minutes on the second, means it does drag at points. Not too much behind-the-scenes footage, mostly talking heads with a few pictures thrown in. The good, if you're a hardcore Hellraiser fan, it's worth a look because it's pretty in-depth on the first two movies. The bad, the price. Again, it worked on my Blu-ray player, so I don't know what the deal with what Eric had said. But it's either way, it's going to be pretty spendy. The good, the bonus disc, again, has like 30 minutes on Hellraiser 3, 1 hour on image animation, worked on the effect and stuff. The bad, again, there's not much on Hellraiser 4 through 9. Again, there's that 30-minute where they take like 2 minutes on each of the movies, but just depends. Even though the guy, he was pretty positive on all of the movies, including Part 9. I'm like, how the fuck can you be positive on Part 9? But to each their own. Again, I mean, The Death of Superman Lives, Crystal Lake Memories, Never Sleep Again, those are much better documentaries than this. Sometimes it does feel like some things could have been edited down. But again, I know I repeated this quite a few times, but I just want to stress, I would rather have a documentary be too long than too short. If it's too long, at least it's there. So even I'll fast forward a little bit here, and then someone who is interested, they can watch. I'd rather have that than, oh, it's over here and it's disappeared and you'll never see it. I prefer something like this than, again, that Turtle Power documentary, which, talking to the guy, oh, they filmed all this stuff, for all this stuff, and you'll never see it. I'm like, well, fuck you then. But anyway, Leviathan, the story of Hellraiser and Hellbound Hellraiser 2. If you're a big fan of both movies, I would say give it a look. Again, it worked on my Blu-ray player, and I'm trying to see on the back if it says anything about region, and it really doesn't. Maybe if I go on their website. I know I'm lolly-daddying, but fuck it. If it opens up. Yeah, it says Leviathan is a region all, and it's manufactured in the UK as a PAL release, and will be able to play on all modern players that are multi-encoded, as well as some game stations and laptop computers. So it says it's region all. And then it says I'm on here to look at the price. Again, it's only on DVDs, not on Blu-ray. See, it says here, please find links below for standard limited 3-disc DVD. UK postage, £3. International postage, £5. And then it says here, Leviathan DVD UK postage, $22.99. Then DVD international postage, $24.99. So it wouldn't be 5 because it's 22 to 24. So it says international postage, $24.99. But then on top, it says, please find links, international postage, extra £5. So $24.99 and then £5. It's like £30, which is like $45. So again, if it somehow is cheaper, feel free to put it down in the comments. But that's what it says on their website: £24.99, and then up above it says £5 in it. I don't know, but it's a bit spendy if that's the case. Pretty damn spendy, especially when. But again, it's talking about the first two films, but you know, it would have been nice to hear more of this. That's why I'm curious about the book, which I put on my Amazon wish list. Because even if I'm not a big fan of the movie, I like hearing stories. I love hearing about the making of films. That's why I want to pick up that book. I think it's called The Legacy. I put it on my Amazon wish list. So I'll remember down the road. But anyway, I know I'm just going on fumes right now. Yeah, whether you pick this up, it'll be up to you. You just have to save up for quite a bit of money, but it's a pretty. I thought it was pretty good. Pretty good. I'm fine that it's pretty lengthy because it doesn't feel like a rip-off. Again, it advertises the story of Hellbound. Doesn't say the definitive. Doesn't say they're going to talk about all the movies. It says those two films, and it does an in-depth job on those two films. So it did what it was supposed to do. So I give a thumbs up to that. But anyway, thanks for watching. Take care, and we will see you later. Bye-bye.